Hey, this is Rob Anspach, and welcome back to another edition of eHeroes. For all you entrepreneurs out there that struggle with CRMs every day, I brought on an expert. His name's Wes Schaeffer, and we're just going to chat about how to improve your customer retention. And, maybe you'll learn some things. So, welcome, Wes, and thanks for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me. I hope they learned something.
Yeah, it's
At,
a tough crowd sometimes.
hey, at a minimum, they'll learn who not to listen to anymore, right?
Yeah, really. I don't think they listen to me anymore, but yeah, they do say I bring on some awesome guests, so we'll talk about that. It's about like I mentioned off air about 10 years ago, I dumped Confusionsoft. Actually, it's called Infusionsoft, but a lot of people renamed it Confusionsoft because it was very confusing
Yeah.
and it wasn't the easiest CRM system to use, especially for someone who's never used the system. That's not one, I guess, to start with.
Well, there's a long history there, right? Um, when Infusionsoft first started, like 20 years ago, the founders they didn't set out to create a platform like that.
Hmm.
Okay, these were some software coders, developers, and a guy called, hey, can you help? Can you make some automation? They said, yeah. And they started coding and made some automation. Okay. And then it caught on. So that it didn't just catch on, like it blew up,
Yeah.
right? Because there was a need, find a need and fill it, right? That's what we do as salespeople, as entrepreneurs. And so at its in its infancy, they were it was like giving a homeless person, a tiny home.
Hmm.
And they're like, holy crap, this is nice. Well, then that homeless person gets a job, gets married, has 7 kids. Now they're like, this tiny home sucks. Like, dude, wait, hold on a second. It's not what you said 3 years ago, right? When you were sleeping under in a storm drain,
Hmm.
right? And so, but now what they did, because they didn't set out to be this big software program, as they grew and people had different requests, they kept adding on. So
Hmm.
imagine that homeless guy is now married and has that tiny home and adds on and knocks out a wall and then, oh, I got a leak. Well, dude, okay, you're trying to do things that it wasn't originally built to do.
Right.
Okay, but at the time, you know, you couldn't get software that did everything they did for that price point. 299 a month, nobody was doing it.
Yeah.
You had to have, even Salesforce couldn't do it. Salesforce, I think like 2012 or so, forget the exact, 2013, somewhere in there, they bought Exact Target so they could do email. Exact Target had bought Pardot, which did automation. Okay, but now you're looking at thousands per month with an annual contract and terrible support.
Hmm.
So but most people, I just had a call just before we hopped on, and I'm helping them when we get off this call, helping them with their Keap installation. They changed names, doing a little rebranding because they have rebuilt the software from the ground up. And this guy, speaking of tiny homes, that's what's on my mind. He has a tiny home business. They doubled last year. They're going to double again this year, and they're barely using their software. They bought it 18 months ago, and not from me. Uh, brought me on just like 6 or 8 weeks ago to start helping them optimize. Really, not even optimize. Just start using it.
Hmm.
They have nothing. They have no automation. They have no follow up. Everything is just done on spreadsheets and whiteboards, uh, and and that's how most small businesses are. And then they start complaining about the software, right? So we get going, and because most entrepreneurs, they just grow up in the business and they just know natively or instinctively or through trial and error what they should do next.
Hmm.
Or they go by gut feel, or they go by, 12-hour days getting stuff done. Oh, I forgot to do that. And there's one more thing they got to get done. So when you stop and ask them, so I was just talking with my client. He wants to do a referral and review sequence. So after they buy, hey, could you give us a review on Google? But would you like some referrals? Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, when do you want that sent out? He's like, I mean, I don't know. So now we're having this conversation. I'm like, you need to send this out as soon as they sign. So now they're happy, get that review, send something out, some type of follow-up once the unit is set up, make sure everything went okay. Do something at the 6-month point, make sure things are still hunky dory, right? Nip it in the bud if there's some quality issues that popped up. Hit them at the 1 year mark. Okay, so he's like, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Now we're like, how do you want to do this? Do you want a phone call? Do you want to send a letter? Do you want to send a text? Do you want to do all the above?
Hmm.
Oh wow, right? So don't blame the software, right? If you've never even considered these options, and then so we start talking things through, and he's like, okay, I got a lot to consider. And I've done this long enough. I'm just gonna go install what I think they need.
Hmm.
I'm gonna build it out. We'll review it. I'll show him, get his approval, then we'll launch it because I can do this. I can probably do it today, right? Whereas if he was left to his own accord to do this, it would probably literally never get done. He's had his software 18 months and it's not even running.
Wow.
They're just too busy, right? In that time, they've grown 200% since he bought the software.
Yeah.
And he grew without using the software.
I look at a lot of my clients, and some are using Keap, some of them are using HubSpot, some of them are using Active Campaign, some of them are using Constant Contact, and that none of them are using any of their programs to the fullest, component.
Yep.
And a lot of times I'll ask them, why did you buy this program? Why did you get this CRM? Oh, it's
Right.
because of price, low price. I said, yeah, but does the price that you're paying equal to the automation that you're going to get that's going to save you time and effort and money?
Yeah.
And for most of them, it was always about the initial price.
Yeah. And that's what people don't understand. So like when I found Infusionsoft, this was 2008, right? It was $5,000 down and
Hmm.
$300 a month. You got five user licenses, and hell, I wasn't even incorporated back then. I didn't have a website. Couldn't take a credit cards. Didn't have a merchant account, but I knew I needed that software because it would replace people,
Hmm.
right? So once you got up and running, that $299 a month, that thing's running 24/7. I have campaigns still running on Infusionsoft that I built in 2008.
Wow.
Okay, so for 14 years, that stuff has just been running.
Hmm.
And so there's always a dichotomy in life, right? As a business owner, when you're starting out, you have to save money. You've got to be wise with what you jump into.
Hmm.
Okay, I have a video, a PDF people can get on my website if you go to thesaleswhisper.com/PBL. So process before login is what it stands for, PBL. I walk you through documenting your steps. What do you want to have happen? Put that on paper, put that on a whiteboard before you log into some software and do some free trials. They're
Hmm.
not free trials. They take your time. Okay. And a lot of them take your credit card. So after the week, 2 weeks, 30 days, whatever, you start getting dinged because you forget about it. So you gotta write this stuff down so you know what it is you're going to create, what you want the software to do. So even as you're shopping, right? Because like people go look for online technology, kind of like you- don't go grocery shopping when you're hungry,
Hmm.
right? I mean, you're hungry, so you pull into the grocery store. What are you getting? I don't know. Do you have plans for dinner? Do you have plans for the week? Do you have family coming in? Do you have kids at home? Like, what's going on? Are they young kids? Are they big kids? Are they bringing their friends, their girlfriends, cousins? You know, I don't know. I'm just going to get some food. Well, good luck with that.
Right.
You know, that's how people go look for technology.
Or then they take the technology and they Frankenstein it together and hope that it's going to work and save them some money. And I'm like, okay, you could have just paid, $500 or whatever it is a month to have one complete system, but now you want to save all this money and cobble everything together and hope it doesn't break.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's no true one complete system. Years ago, Infusionsoft did promote themselves as all-in-one software, and they finally stopped doing that because there's nothing all-in-one. Uh, so just like there's no perfect house, right? You're house hunting. You have your ideal, right? But it's only in your mind, because that mansion, um, with the big kitchen and the pool and the safe neighborhoods and close to school and close to work, um, if it does exist, it's out of your budget. If it's within your budget, then you're going to compromise. Maybe it's a smaller garage. Maybe it's a smaller kitchen. Maybe it doesn't have the pool. Maybe it's 10 minutes farther to work, whatever. So you got to figure out what it is, that you know, that process before login. What's an absolute? Because every company's different. You know, one company may really need online, you know, e-commerce. The next one, like my friend, you know, doing the tiny homes, they don't do e-commerce, right? They're selling whatever, a 20, 30, $50,000 unit. So people aren't doing credit cards on that, right? Not normally. So they're getting a loan. So everybody's a little bit different as far as what is the must have. So you got to figure those must have items out, rank order them, and then go shopping. So map out your process before login.
You know, one of the things that impressed me is I went on your website and it actually walks me through step by step what I want out of a system. You know,
Yeah.
if I have no idea what system I want, it'll ask me the different various questions and I'll fill them in. And then at the end, it'll ask me for my information. But then it tells me, hey, this is what we suggest you start off with.
Yeah.
And to me, that is probably one of the easiest things that I can, because I have no idea. And most of the people that are listening have no idea what CRM system they need. By following this thing, they can say, wow, Wes just made it so much easier.
That's the goal, right? We should make things easy for our customers.
Yeah, and that kind of goes back to, you know, the things that I teach my clients, simplify your marketing. You know, and when it comes to CRMs, they think, oh my God, that's so complicated. But you can create these simple funnels that don't break. Like you said, you've had yours out there for since 2008. So that's 14 years of a simple funnel that's still working, and it makes you money.
Yeah,
You
that's
know,
it.
so
You know, and there's that cuts both ways. So that, you know, another dichotomy, right? On the one hand, keep it simple. But Dan Kennedy would talk about embracing complexity.
right.
He would say, put as many steps in there and unique features, so you're hard to steal from, right? You're hard to replicate or imitate.
Hmm.
So, but you do start simple, and then you start adding on. Like I'm talking with my clients, you know, said, hey, let's sprinkle in some multimedia. Let's include a letter. Let's include a text message.
Hmm.
Let's not just do this one time. Let's do it 4 times over the first year. You know, oh heck, okay. But each of those, none of those are hard.
Hmm.
Phone call, letter, you know, email, text, immediately upon delivery, 6 months, 12 months. You know, but thinking through that, most people, that without the software, they're probably not going to do it at all.
Right. You know,
Uh,
when I was shopping for a car earlier in the year, and every day I would get another video from the sales company, this auto dealer, and each one it was, you know, first it was a salesman, then it was the financing guy, then it was somebody else, each explaining how they do things,
yep.
and that was probably all built into their CRM, and it was all automatic. You know, they captured my email, and every day I ended up buying from them.
Yeah.
You know, and it wasn't because of the price of the car. It was because I would get, you know, um, messages from them, you know, just saying, hey, this is the step. This is what you want to do. This is how you're going to do. They weren't trying to sell me a car. They were just saying, hey, this is what we're doing. This is how we're helping you. And you know, to me, that's another way to take your business to the next level is you know, automating those videos that you've created.
Yeah. And, you know, the old adage is still this is true. We must enter the conversation going on in the mind of the prospect.
Hmm.
So sales has changed with technology, with the internet, with social media. It's changed from COVID. Okay. The role of the salesperson has changed. We're no longer the keeper of the information. Now we are helping our prospects sort and sift through the information. We're helping confirm their assumptions, reassure them, okay, that they're making the right choice. So we need to understand their dilemmas, okay, their fears, and so if we can use technology with a survey, uh, create some self-paced education, because the customer does need to be educated, but they don't have to be educated by us. They don't have to be educated by us one on one.
Hmm.
Okay, they don't have to be educated by us on demand. Answer my call. I know it's a Sunday, but so you make these things ahead of time,
Hmm.
right? You show that you're the expert by asking better questions and providing the answers before they even thought of them.
Hmm.
That's how they know, like, and trust you.
So what got you involved? I mean, you go back to 2008. I mean, why Infusionsoft? Why any CRM? What prompted you to say, "Hey, I need to offer this to my customers"?
Well, I didn't start out with that intention. I mean, I've always been in sales since I got out of the Air Force in '97. Um, so one of my early sales jobs, I was selling mobile homes, and um, this was 90 early '98, April, May '98. Um, we, I mean, I'm sure the company had a website, but like things weren't really done on that. Nobody had a computer. I was the only one in the office that had my own laptop. I just brought it in. But we didn't have Wi-Fi. I didn't even have internet there. I just had it for my own database, and I was running a CRM on the platform on my laptop. But we did have a central computer that was tied in to the corporate database. And when a prospect came on the lot, we brought them in. We did a little interview. What's going on? What are you looking for? What's your time frame? If their credit was spotty, we'd run their credit and make sure. Okay. And so if we entered the prospect's info into the database, if that customer came on the lot the next day, a year later, and let's say it was my day off, and you met them, you helped them, and they were ready to buy, I got 50% of that commission because I put them into the database.
Wow.
Okay. If I didn't enter their info, it didn't matter. It didn't matter if I spent 6 months with them. I got nothing. All right. So I learned early on the importance of protecting your data.
Hmm.
Right. And then I got into technology sales. I worked with some startups. I worked in the test and measurement world, calling on big companies like Verizon, AT&T, Google. Those were clients. And so all kind of CRM, Salesforce, Siebel, Onyx. I mean, you name it. Worked with a bunch of them. And and I was, I guess, an anomaly in the sales team in that I didn't fight it. I didn't push back. Right? The CRM was there. You could look at it and say, "Oh, that's Big Brother. I'm not doing all this." Or you could say, "You know what? How can I use this to make my life easier?" I've always been like an efficiency freak. So as I'd look at the platform, I looked at like Salesforce. They had templates, so I learned about how to use their templates. Um, as an individual salesperson, I couldn't do broadcast emails, but I could do like 250 a day or something like that to my own contacts that I owned. So I just always embraced the technology just to be efficient. And then like I ran across Infusionsoft. I wasn't looking for them. I was a Dan Kennedy fan, and he
Hmm.
was speaking in Anaheim at the convention center. He was an early investor in Infusionsoft, so they were doing a promotional tour. So I went to see him, but then I heard their pitch, and I was like, "Man, this is good stuff." I was already using some software from a local company, some people that I knew, an entrepreneur. They had given me their software to kind of be like a spokesman or like a sponsored, whatever uh, person using it and promoting it. So I had started, it had some rudimentary automation. So I was like, okay, I see. This is cool, right? It started expanding my thinking. That was 2007. Start expanding my thinking, what I could do with this stuff. Infusionsoft just had more steps, more intricacies, more power. So I jumped in for myself, and they had an affiliate program, right? You could get certified. They paid 20% recurring commission for life. And I remember telling my wife, we always tell this story, on a $300, $299 sale, 20% is whatever, $59.50 or something. And my wife's like, oh, woohoo, but then I sold hundreds,
Mhm.
and then over the years, probably thousands. And so that stuff starts to add up.
And for the audience, if you're listening to this on podcast, Wes and I are about the same age. I'll be 53 this year, so we're not spring chickens. This is not something. Hey, that just came about. We've both been in this data business for marketing and using people's data for our advantage for a long, long time. And I met Dan Kennedy back in 1998 in Arizona.
Wow.
So, Dan has been, in both our worlds for a long time, and now that, it's all been kind of, you know, Dan's marketing has now kind of gone into, I guess Russell Brunson bought everything.
Hmm.
To me, sometimes those two worlds don't mix. Because you got the old school way of thinking,
Yeah.
and then you got the new way of doing, funnels and everything else. And what's your thoughts?
I have a love hate with ClickFunnels. um, it was funny. Years ago, Russell was a fan of Infusionsoft. He wore a T-shirt. Some of my friends still have it. It said "I heart Infusionsoft." Right? He wore it on stage. Um, I think Dan Kennedy's a big fan of SND, right? Swipe and deploy. So see what somebody else is doing, change it up a bit, and redeploy it. People are, oh, that's stealing, whatever. I'm like, look, you think Pepsi was created in a vacuum, or they already see Coke? You got Sprite and Seven Up, Dr Pepper, Mr Pibb. I mean, come on. You see something, you emulate it, but it doesn't mean you don't steal their stuff, right? But you can change an ingredient, and you've made something different. So Dan's a big fan of that, and Russell has embraced that fully. I'll just say, okay. And he's got a fine product. He did what he had to do. When you're the small guy, you either ride the coattails of the big guys, and once you get close to their size, then you start bashing them.
Mm-hmm.
So he and his people went heavy into the bashing side, and I don't know, it just didn't sit well with me. And I feel like they overpromised what their software could do,
Mm-hmm.
and they're still kind of doing that. But still, it fills a need.
Yeah.
But going back to what I was saying before, the fundamentals have never changed. You must enter the conversation going on the mind of the prospect. Dan Kennedy is great at helping people think bigger, helping you raise your prices. So in that regard, and Russell, being younger and ready to take over the world, it's probably a good mix. So I'm not staring at them, right? But I pay attention. I check in on them every now and then. What's going on? See what's happening, and it seems to be going okay for them.
And I think that's the best thing that you can do. And for those listening, it's good to see what your competitors are doing, but don't don't get your hands up in the air and scream and shout and go, oh my God, they're doing. You know what? There's plenty of work out there. There's plenty of business, and just keep on doing you, and stop worrying about what other people are doing.
Yeah.
For you, I think that you fill a void. You fill that void of helping a client understand a CRM, what they need, how they do, how they can implement it and make money from it. But then you go above and beyond, and you can actually create their whole, their whole program.
Yeah. Yeah. A good chunk of it for sure, but, like I said, it's hard, it's hard to map this stuff out, to do the thinking, right? And who knows who said it? Henry Ford, Ben Franklin, and one of those guys, right? Going way back. But Thomas Jefferson, they said that, thinking is the hardest thing a man can do. It's why so few people do it. So, when I get started with folks, if I'm doing copywriting for them, helping with their marketing, creating their systems, there's a lot of thinking going on. I'm like, slow down. Let's ponder this thing for a minute. Where are we taking it? Where do you want to go? And it's hard to think through that stuff.
Do you take their personality into effect? Do you,
For sure.
you look at how they're doing things now and say, okay, this is the avenue I think that you should go, or do you use a lot of some of the same elements across the board?
Um, you know, I use the same elements where I can, because business is business,
Right.
right? But absolutely take their personality. A good friend of mine is an attorney, and he's a crazy Irish Catholic from Chicago, and so picture every stereotype from that, and it's 100% true. But he's an attorney.
Wow.
So when I made his website, right, I couldn't put all of his true personality, right? He and his whole family, they got 8 kids, and they're big Black Hawk fans. I'll go to the house, everybody's in jerseys, screaming and yelling. So we're going to tone that down on his professional side, right? On his legal side, and people are, oh, that's two-faced. That's not sincere. It's like it's not two-faced. It's totally sincere. We are different personas in different environments.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, when I go train jujitsu, I'm still my happy-go-lucky self, but I'm not the badass in the room. I'm a student in that case.
Mm-hmm.
So I play by the instructor's rules. Okay. If I'm speaking at an event or leading training, I take a different role. I fill a different position. So their personality absolutely has to come in. But most of my clients, I'm helping them put some personality into their stuff. Most of the time, it's too dry.
Mm-hmm.
It's too cookie cutter, like, because they looked at their competition. Their competition is a big company, and the big company starts to lose its soul, becomes generic. And I'm like, dude, I'm working with smaller companies. Like, put some life into this,
Right. They've all gone to the Vulcan school of no emotion.
Yeah.
And that really hurts you, because that personality becomes your brand. Hey,
Yeah.
you're on my podcast, and that's great. But you also have your own podcast. And I think you have hundreds of episodes.
548, as I
Wow.
look over at my spreadsheet over here.
So
Well, 548 are recorded. So 547 should have been published today. I need to go check.
And for those that wish to do a podcast, I highly recommend that you do one. But the secret is batch recording. I mean, I record 6 or 7 of them at a time, and that way the whole month is covered, or even 2 months. And
Yeah.
that way I don't have to record every single week and hope that I uploaded it right or did this or did that. Pre-plan everything. So it's just like your CRM. You got to plan everything, sketch it all out. What are you going to do? How are you going to do it? And when the time is right, and you want to talk to Wes about a CRM, they go to where? What website do they go to?
Well, you can just start at thesaleswhisperer.com, and you can find all kind of things from there, right? I've got my free quiz for CRMs. I've got a free sales calculator there that'll help you figure out your activities based on your commission goals. I've got all types of free reports, links to, I've got 2 podcasts. The other is the CRM Sushi podcast, which is more technical, we do demos of software. So I'll have like the founders or leaders of a company come in
Nice.
and demo their stuff. So you can just see kind of an honest under the hood, review of what they're working on. See if it's really right for you. I've got a link to my copywriting services, a link to my Make Every Sale program. So, just start at the Sales Whisperer, and if you get lost or confused, there's a little help chat dude that pops up, and you'll actually get me, eventually. But you got to answer a few questions, and but it'll link to various resources. But then, I've had people go, "Is this really Wes?" I'm like, "This is really Wes." Chatting with them. They're like, "What?" I give them my cell phone number, and like, you can call, you can text.
And this is what makes you an e-hero, because you're real, you're raw, you're there for the person, and you're honest, and I look at what you're doing, and I'm thinking, wow, sometimes I think you're this intimidating guy, because you could probably kick my butt and your jujitsu and all, but you know what? Bottom of the day or end of the day, I can count on you to do stuff, and that's what it's all about. I mean, that is what true entrepreneurship is you're reaching out, you're helping somebody, you're giving giving it your all, and you're giving people education. You're saying, hey, this is what I believe is right for you. This is the systems that I think you don't need. And to me, that is what a hero does. Now, for everyone that's listening, I want you to immediately go to his podcast and binge listen to all 500 plus episodes. And then when you're done, hire him.
Or, just hire me and I'll save you 547 hours.
You're located where? In what state?
Southern California.
Oh, nice. It's nice to visit. I wouldn't want to live there.
Oh, man. I know. My wife's family's from here. We've been here 17 years. So we make the best of it.
But hey, this was great. You guys give Wes a call, and he'll straighten you all out. If not on the CRM, get him on the mat, and you'll walk out like a pretzel. Yeah. So you do the jujitsu, and you're pretty high up though.
Yeah, I mean 5 years. So I'm a 2-stripe purple belt. So I guess since most people quit, relatively purple's pretty high up, relatively speaking, but there's brown, there's black, there's even 2 levels above black. But black is kind of it's kind of where everybody aspires, right? For a martial art, black traditionally means, you've mastered, well, you are a master of the sport. I don't know if you ever master it, kind of like golf, right? Do you ever master golf? So
yeah, I broke 2 windows golfing, and I'll never master that.
So yeah, and compared to the general populace, purple's pretty high.
Yeah. So it's, if you guys go back to episode 100, one of my guests, Courtney Buford, he does jujitsu on the side. He's in Vegas. He's a brilliant realtor. But when you mix the martial arts with what you're doing every single day, I think it helps with your discipline. It helps with your mindset. It helps you with your warrior, instincts to make your business better.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to be well-rounded, right? It's I think people need to read more fiction, right? Need to have some hobbies. You get stale, you get one-dimensional. Add some variety to your life, right? You'll be more approachable. You'll be more empathetic in your sales. It's just, and you got to remind yourself that you work to live, right? You don't live to work.
Right. Yeah. Everything that we do as a business owner needs to support our personal life. Actually, it needs to fund our personal life. That personal life needs to come first.
Yeah.
And for me, it's always been about, how can I support my family better? I've been reducing my hours. I've been, raising my prices. I've been doing a lot of different things that make it fundamentally better that I can spend more time with my family. And,
Yep.
as an entrepreneur, I think that's what you need to do. But you also have to have some time for yourself. That means physical exercise. That means sometimes getting beaten down, taking those punches.
Like Mike Tyson, right? Everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face.
Yeah, or getting their ear bit off.
Yeah. So, enter the arena, right? And your life will change.
Well, everybody, thank you for listening, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Adios.